Amanda Chase joining us now, Republican Senator Chesterfield. She's up for a second term in 2019. I have her as the overwhelming favorite to win re-election there, even though her district and all of Chesterfield going a little blue. But she's likely, better hope she is friends with Dick Saslaw, because the Republicans' days in the state Senate are numbered, as they are in the House, because, well, they squashed the ERA vote amendment so the Democrats can raise millions of dollars, blasting Republicans for voting against a symbolic vote that means absolutely nothing, so they can relinquish power. About the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my entire political life. Amanda Chase, great to have you with us.
John, it is always good to talk with you. Thanks so much for having me on this morning.
By the way, Amanda Chase has her own radio show, Cut to the Chase, on WNTW AMA 20 and 92.7 FM. And that is, Amanda, Fridays at 6 p.m. or 5 p.m.? I always forget.
It's actually from 6 to 7 p.m. And, it's actually a town hall. I'm not as entertaining as you are, John. But I do try to be accessible to constituents and be approachable. So if anybody, a lot of people are homebound, they can't make it downtown. So it's just a way to stay in touch, let people know what's really going on.
All right, Amanda Chase.
I appreciate your coverage as well.
Town Hall Radio, 6 to 7 p.m. every Friday, even when she's in session. So that's pretty neat. And I've heard your show many times as I'm driving through Richmond, and I think it is entertaining. And, of course,
well, coming from you, I'll take that as a huge compliment.
It is. I mean, I like it. I like it. It's kind of fun and certainly informative, and I appreciate you making the effort to do that and informing our listeners about what is going on, Amanda Chase, from your perspective. So let's get to packing your firearm. I saw the other day you had your firearm on you. Now, do you just come in and do you wear your sidearm into the well the entire time?
I do, actually. I've concealed carry. I carry it for personal protection. And after the altercation that Senator Black had after a sanctuary city bill came up, where he had protesters that came up to him and got kind of ugly, and the Capitol Police had to be called. And so, I said, I'm just going to open carry. I already had a custom holster that's made for my revolver, so it's secure and pretty comfortable with it. And so I just decided to wear it that morning. I wasn't trying to make a statement. It was really just to deter people from, getting in my face, which has happened before. And, I knew what I was getting into when I got in this job, and I knew there would be threats, and there are a lot of things that legislators don't talk about. It's just part of the job description. And, I just felt the needed protection and added security, and it is a deterrent. I had a couple of, how would you say this, overly aggressive protesters that were not happy after my speech against the so-called Equal Rights Amendment, and tried to lay hands on me until they broke the two of my aids. And they looked down, saw my revolver strapped to my side there, and kind of backed off. And I was like, you know what? It actually deters potential altercations. And so I've just worn it, and it's just an added sense of peace and security for me. And most people don't have a problem with it. But actually, I've had a lot of words of affirmation. But I'm like, it's personal protection, and a lot of people, they don't understand what legislators have to deal with the threats, the attacks, and all that. We know that, we get it. I don't want the taxpayers to have to pay for my personal security. I mean, I can pay, take care of myself, but it is added security.
I wouldn't mess with you. I'll tell you that.
I don't think you would have to.
I wouldn't mess with. I know you've gotten criticized for carrying your firearm, and a lot of people have said that it's symbolism or it's a prop, and all that might be, or it might not. I don't really care. You've got a right to do that. And I think the fact that you've stepped down and said, I'm just going to do this for my own protection. I've got the proper training and the license to do it. I think you have that ability to do that. So, look, I remember doing my show one morning in a state building, the old post office, the old city hall.
Oh, yeah.
Right there. And I used to do my show in there once in a while. And I would go in and I would carry my firearm in because, it's 5:30 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
I was the only one there, right? And, you just don't know. So I remember I go in one day and there's a sign posted on the door. I think this was like 2016 or 17, or I don't remember. There's a big notice on the door. It said, new edict by Governor Terry McAuliffe, you cannot carry firearms in this building. And so I had to go back to my car or drive all the way back to the parking lot, put it back in there and go back. And then I went in and I remember thinking to myself, I wonder if this would actually deter anybody that came in there to fire away. Like, they would probably say, oh, right. Great, no one else has one. Oh, he's so dumb. So
yeah, case in point. So I was meeting with the governor to get his support over a number of bills to pass a full Senate, trying to get his support on them. And I was like, I still have to comply with the law as a legislator and couldn't carry my firearm into the Patrick Henry building. And so, there's no place. I mean, I'm next year, I'm going to introduce a bill that says if you say that you cannot bring in a firearm, they need to have a secure place for you to put it. Because, like you said, where are you going to put it? It's dangerous to leave firearms in cars. They get stolen. It makes no sense.
It makes no sense. And
I'll tell you something really interesting. I knew this was going to make a great story for today. So I had two uncles that passed away. I had two funerals to go to over the weekend in Atlanta. And, it's so onerous trying to check in a firearm. And so I just chose to leave my firearm at home. Well, right after I got picked up from the airport, we went to the Waffle House right across the street on Williamsburg Road to get something to eat because I hadn't had dinner, and it was like 11 o'clock at night.
Right.
And we were inside the Waffle House eating dinner, and there was an altercation that went on outside of the Waffle House. The police were called. My aide actually called the police. And I don't know if the guy had a firearm. I'm not sure what was going on, but I thought, of all times, I don't have a firearm. There's an altercation going on outside. I was totally unprotected, just like sitting ducks in there, sitting in that glass building. Mm-hmm. And they were after someone that was in the Waffle House. We called the police, and eventually the police came, but it was like 15 minutes. And, that's the problem that we have. We are so thankful for our law enforcement. They work so hard. They're well trained, but there's not that many. And if you look, I've learned this since being in the Senate. They're not paid enough. We have a shortage of law enforcement officers. They're moving. How would you say? They're transferring either to other cities and localities where they pay just barely a little bit more, or they're getting out of the business altogether. It's frightening. Last year we had to change. We did some changes to the way the Virginia State Police got paid. We gave them some raises, $7,000 plus for entry level. That's just a drop in the bucket. We still have to take care of our sheriffs, which we still haven't done yet. People have no idea. They're trusting in a system that's not always going to be there for them. It took the police 10 to 15 minutes to get there, and I had no idea if those involved had a gun, if they had a knife. They were running back behind the hotel, so we thought. But it was a terrifying moment, and I thought, this is a lesson of all these people who are saying, well, you can carry a firearm, but not here. You're disarming good, law-abiding citizens and putting them in a situation where they cannot protect themselves. The criminals don't follow the law anyway.
Right.
And so they're going to ignore any signs that say no gun in here. You're making law-abiding citizens sitting ducks.
That's what I think.
And so that's why I'm such a huge Second Amendment right person. And for women, this so-called Equal Rights Amendment that put forward, I so want to affirm women. I actually put something in called the Equal Rights Affirmation, which affirms women and talks about what we've been able to accomplish and kind of highlight some of those congressional federal laws that have been put in place to protect women, to make sure that they're paid equally to men, and so forth and so on. But whenever I conceal carry, whenever I'm carrying, it is. I call my revolver my little equal rights amendment, because it's empowering to women who are, to any woman, but I think about those women who are fearful. I deal a lot with domestic violence victims, and it just gives you peace of mind. I remember I was driving by myself home from Atlanta visiting my 94-year-old grandfather. It's 5:30 in the morning, pitch dark. I get a flat tire because there's so much construction that I had to pull off the side of the road, and it just gives me peace of mind that I can protect myself and that I'm not vulnerable just to anybody that would come up to my window or what have you. I have a way to protect myself.
Look, I commend what you're doing, and I had this conversation with my wife, Ann the Fräulein, just this weekend, and I said, you really need to go get a firearm, get the training, because you're a sitting duck 1 hour out of town. You have zero protection here. And so you need to get comfortable with that. And I even brought you up. I say the way Amanda does, because when she's by herself doing what she does, you just never know. And it's a good thing to have. And I commend your advocacy of that. I want to get to some issues. Let's get to the ERA amendment that went down in the House committee, which I think is a disaster for Republicans in Virginia. Mm-hmm. Amanda, I know how you stand on it. I get the ideology of it. But look, this is a symbolic vote. It's going to be in litigation until we're both dead. Who cares? Meantime, now the Democrats are going to spend and raise millions of dollars running ads against House Republicans that are already at a redistricting disadvantage with the new maps that came out. And that's going to be the end of their majority. It's going to be the end of your majority in the Senate. And so why make this symbolic, stupid vote the hill to die on to basically legislate yourself out of power?
Well, I certainly understand the perspective. I've worked for 3 different congressmen, and I guess I have a little bit different of a take on that. I feel like it's my role to educate and inform people, and it was not properly before the Senate. It would be the equivalent if we thought we needed to go to war for some reason, and we went to our Board of Supervisors and said, you know what, we the people feel like we need to go to war. It's just not the proper place for it, I guess is a good way to put it. And that's kind of the way I feel about it. And I know a lot of people look from the outside looking in, we're like, what's the big deal? But I do feel like you don't want to empower the left either. I mean, so many times, instead of standing up and educating people on why something is a bad idea, sometimes we tend to cave into what the Democrat messaging is and what they want to hook us on, if you will, instead of standing firm and instead coming up with our own talking point. My big thing is, look, if you want to change the language in here to say female or say woman in the actual article of the Constitution, I'd be all for it. But it doesn't. It says sex.
All right,
and sex is not properly defined.
I'm going to move on. I've got other issues. I get it. But as a result of a symbolic, meaningless vote, and I know you can spin it 5 ways to Wednesday about wording this and that. At the end of the day, Amanda, it's going to cost Republicans the only hope that they have, which is Kirk Cox's speakership. You're not going to be able to raise any money. The party's going to be dead. And basically, you can trace this whole thing back to Ken Cuccinelli, your buddy, who single-handedly destroyed the Republican Party of Virginia. And now, with getting behind this, squashing this ERA amendment in committee, he's now taken the body and burned it to a crisp. You're not even going to be able to pay for the answering machine in there. So, look, we can agree to disagree on that. Move on. Tolls on 81. Why not just get a gasoline tax and be done with it? Why tolls?
When I worked for Congressman Randy Forbes, this was also an issue that we dealt with, and Congressman Forbes was one of the ones to oppose I-81 and the tolls down there. I also agree. I mean, I'm not supportive of tolls. I think it hurts the everyday users that are going through there. It's kind of. I'm not going to, I don't like taxes. I mean, I know we need some, but I'm not looking to raise taxes or fees. And, certainly there's another way to do it. We just need to be creative and think outside the box. But yeah, I'm not in favor of tolls there on 81. Never have been.
We're with Amanda Chase, Republican state senator from Chesterfield County. She's up for re-election to a second term, November 2019. We found 2 out of 3 things to agree on. We're both opposed to tolls on 81. Stupid idea. Okay, let's get to, I've only got a minute and a half. Let's get the casinos. You for or against?
I am not in favor of casinos. I'm just not. on a number of levels, I'm just not. And I guess I'll just leave it at that. What, you want to talk about coal ash?
Amanda Chase, not in favor of casinos. Well, it's going to pass anyway, Amanda, because people like me to go to the casinos and see like 70% of the cars in Dover Downs in Delaware and Charlestown in West Virginia and MGM in Maryland all have Virginia plates, so it makes no sense. Plus, the Pamunkeys are getting screwed. So anyway, that's going to pass. Okay, let's get to something I know we can agree on. Lee Ware has a bill in the House for balanced billing prohibition, which basically means if you're in an emergency situation and you have to go and get care, doctor, hospital, it's not in your network, you're not going to get screwed. Are you in favor of that?
Yes. In fact, I'm the chief patron in the Senate, so I am very much in favor.
All right. So we found, let's see, we agreed on tolls, balanced billing, didn't agree, but we do agree on the Tim Hugo tax plan, right?
So, no, actually, so I introduced
Oh, gee, I thought this was going to be an easy answer. I've only got 10 seconds. I'll have to get you back.
Tax reform,
I'll have to get you back on this.
Call me later. Well, I'll talk to you about the tax reform.
All right. Amanda Chase, thank you. We agreed on 50% of the issues. I think that's pretty good.